In this video, I'll be creating a web bot as part of this web scraping tutorial series. The goal for this one is simple. We're going to build a bot that joins a typing race and basically cheats. Now, I'm not saying you should go around breaking records with this, but if you do, just don't type too perfectly or people might start asking questions. For this demo, I'll be using this typing race website, but you can use any site you want. The process is always the same. You just tell your bot where to go, what to click, and what to do. For this project, I'll be using Puppeteer. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. I'll begin by creating an index JavaScript file. While I'm here, let me install Puppeteer. I'll be installing Puppeteer Core instead of the full version, mainly because I don't want it downloading its own browser. My storage is already under pressure, so we're keeping things minimal here. If you have a more powerful machine, you can go ahead and install the full Puppeteer package. If you're not sure how to install it, you can check the official documentation. It's actually very clear and easy to follow. While that installs, let me quickly create a gitignore file before I forget, because if I don't do it now, I'll definitely remember after pushing everything to GitHub, which is always a painful moment. If we check the package file, you can see Puppeteer Core is installed correctly. Now let's start coding. I'll import Puppeteer and create an async function called typeracer, which takes a URL as a parameter. Inside this function, I'll launch the browser. I'll set headless to false so we can actually see what the bot is doing. Otherwise, it just runs silently in the background and you're left wondering if it's working or not. I'll also set the executional path to my Chrome browser. To find this, you can locate your browser on your system, copy the file path, and paste it here. On Windows, you might need to adjust the slashes slightly. Next, I'll create a new page using the browser instance. I'll also set the viewport size because, this website has a lot of ads and they really don't believe in giving your content space to breathe. So adjusting the viewport helps keep things cleaner. Now I'll navigate to the website and wait until the document is fully loaded. This is similar to using defer when you include your JavaScript file in HTML. What defer does is basically tell the browser to wait until the document is fully loaded before running your script. And that's exactly the same idea here. We're making sure that the page is ready before we try to interact with it. Because if you try to run your code too early, before the elements exist, things will fail, and then you're left debugging something that isn't even your fault. So whether it's in the browser with defer or here with waiting for elements to load, the concept is the same. Always make sure the page is ready before you start doing anything. It saves you a lot of unnecessary problems later. And as you can see, the browser opens and navigates to the site immediately. So far, everything is working as expected. And now that the bot can reach the website, the next step is to click the Enter Typing Race button. To do that, I'll open the developer tools and inspect the button. Here, we can see the class names. I'll copy that because we'll need it in the code. Back in the code editor, I'll wait for that element to appear before clicking it. This step is very important because if the bot tries to click something that hasn't loaded yet, the whole process can fail and then you're stuck debugging something that could have been avoided. So it's always a good idea to wait for elements before interacting with them. Now that we've identified the button, I'll add the quick command. Let's test this again. And as you can see, the bot waits for the button, then clicks it immediately after it appears. After clicking, there's a countdown before the race starts, so the bot needs to wait for a signal before it begins typing. Otherwise, it's just typing into nothing, which doesn't really help. On this website, I noticed that 2 green elements appear right when the race starts, so I'll use those as an indicator. I'll wait for those elements before moving forward. As you can see, I popped out my inspection tool so that I can easily evaluate the page. This just makes things a lot more convenient, especially when you're working with Puppeteer and trying to, match what's happening in the browser with your code. Instead of switching back and forth between windows, you can just keep everything visible and work a lot faster. If you want to do this, you can go into the browser developer tools settings and change the docking position so it opens in a separate window. Now we need to get the text that the bot will type. For this, I'll use a method that allows us to run JavaScript directly inside the page. Everything inside this function is just normal front-end JavaScript, no Puppeteer methods here. If we inspect the page, we can see where the text is located. It's inside span elements that don't have a class or ID, which is always interesting, but they do have a unique attribute set to unselectable. So we can use that to target them. Back in the code, I'll select all those span elements. Now, here's something interesting. The website stores the first word separately from the rest of the paragraph. I'm not sure why, but we'll work with it. So I'll loop through each element, extract the text content, and store everything in an array. Then I'll combine everything into a single string. For joining the 2 array elements, I'll use concat together with the spread operator. So basically what I'm doing here is taking both arrays and combining them into one clean array before turning it into a string. If you're not familiar with the spread operator, it's just a way of unpacking values from an array. So instead of dealing with nested arrays or doing extra steps, we just spread everything out and merge it properly. If you want a deeper explanation on that, you can check out some of my previous videos. I think I covered this in the JavaScript Challenges series. Now, you might be tempted to just use concat directly on strings, but that's not really how JavaScript works in this case. It would have been nice if we could just join strings the same way you might do it in Python, nice and simple, but JavaScript likes to make you think a little bit more before doing that. So for this situation, working with arrays first and then combining everything gives us a much cleaner and more reliable result. And as you can see, the full paragraph appears correctly in the console, so that part is working perfectly. Now for the final step, typing. I'll use the keyboard typing method and set a delay of about 90 milliseconds. If you're wondering where these methods come from, you can find them in the Puppeteer documentation under the API section. As you can see, everything is well documented in here. Let's test everything. And there we go. The bot joins the race and starts typing automatically. And just like that, first place. 88 words per minute. Not bad at all. I do feel a little bad for the person in second place, but honestly, there's a good chance that's also a bot, so it's probably a fair competition. Back in the code, I'll create a variable for typing speeds, as this is something we might want to adjust. Let me set it to 10 milliseconds and test again. And now, it types so fast that the cursor can't even keep up. At this point, we're not racing anymore, we're just demonstrating dominance. And that's it for this video. Peace.